From the spirit realm to man-made technology, there's never a shortage of mysteries just above our heads. From secret sky predators to legends of flying carpets, from things happening in space like Saturn's rings disappearing, as well as sky events that may mean things like the rapture, or hidden air travel from the past. We're going to be diving into all of these things in this comp episode of Sky Mysteries. I'll meet you back at the end for a wrap-up, but nowadays when everyone's looking down at their phones, a lot of these mysteries are happening just above our heads, especially as we approach these end times. Conspiracy theory ice cream man on your block, pull up. Today's flavors include Saturn's rings disappearing. And that's not fake. Saturn's rings are set to disappear in 2025. Get this flavor before it's all sold out. The simulation is definitely wrapping up. This has to be directly tied to the bridging of the dimensions and the lifting of the veil, and all the airplane, upper atmospheric, and UAP phenomenon lately. Plus other esoteric thoughts about the cult of Saturn. Make sure you jumbo size this order. Jumbos are newly discovered, free-floating worlds, not attached to any star, not orbiting anything, found in the middle of the Orion Nebula. A lot of things keep coming back to Orion. Speaking of anomalies, one other flavor today, Nile blood. Kind of like tiger's blood, but the Nile River. The Nile River being blood red sounds extra weird. In the same sentence in the same week that Israel is at war, there's a solar eclipse, and these mysterious orange orbs are literally everywhere. Simulation definitely wrapping up. But on a very quick side note, let's discuss omens, and how earlier this year, there was an omen of a bird taking down the flag of Israel. I knew immediately this was a bad omen, and exactly 23 weeks later to the day, an aerial attack happened, just like the omen. Moving to the flavor of the week, we have pumpkin aurora, which is exactly what it sounds like, the impossible pumpkin-colored aurora borealis. Also, other weird and impossible auroras popping up in places that they shouldn't be popping up, such as red auroras, auroras not around any poles, and even artificial auroras. I wonder if any of these false auroras are false aurora portals, or this has to do with the weakening of the magnetic field, also tying into the Saturn rings disappearing, and the whole simulation just dissolving. Plus other weird portal-like anomalies such as Argentina and other places. We're definitely in the final act of a movie, aren't we? Before you go, make sure you get a nice glass of triple point water. A really fascinating mystery about how water can be in all three states at once, plus other secret states beyond the three. Oh, and not all clouds are clouds, and there might be clouds spying on you. I'm out. The rapture, that ever so mysterious topic that whether you're a sound doctrinal person or you're a death cult preacher who thinks it's going to be tomorrow, everybody has questions and is interested in it who's come across the topic. Specifically also a false rapture, a counterfeit event. And if you're onto things, you notice that beforehand, there's always a false counterfeit before the real thing. Now, what we're going to talk about is explaining away the rapture, specifically the theory of that. Now, with ideas like the Mandela effect, all these UAP things that have been declassified, ideas like time glitches or glitches in the matrix, these are all subconscious seeding. There's been also plenty of Hollywood predictive programming to coincide with all of these things. With technology available today the way it is, with holograms for Project Bluebeam or dustification, DEW weapons that can just turn things straight up to dust, it's no wonder that a lot of people are theorizing that the rapture could happen soon, or the false rapture could happen soon. This whole idea of chronomancy, of the Mandela effect, of all the UFO things just waiting to explain away the rapture. What's your thoughts on it? But more importantly than what your thoughts, how do you discuss your thoughts? Regardless of what people believe, it's what they believe. I think how you speak is more important and really shows the value of what you believe. But that's just my opinion. The mystery that exists just above our heads. Way too many people losing it. Demonic manifestations, pockets of frequency in sun portals, altitude nano-jab reactions, AI shapeshifter rollouts, psyops, pilot health and unheartbeat phenomenon, and a reptilian manifesting looking preacher calling it a tube of demons. Let's explore this mystery. So many mysteries in the skies nowadays, aside from UAPs, with disappearances of whole flights like the Malaysian one, or accounts of Admiral Byrd being brought into the hollow earth and biblical teleportation happening, like the Book of Acts with Philip and they call it translation, or doors and windows in heaven known as portals. The Bible also mentions people not dying but being taken to heaven under certain circumstances. I'm not saying this is related, we're just going to explore a few thoughts and phenomenon and then wrap it all together. So from weird pilot stuff like myocarditis and other hidden pilot cover-up activity and diseases, There are news reports of increased mental issues among pilots, including a recent incident where an off-duty pilot tried to sabotage a flight and take the whole thing down. I believe his name was Emerson, said right before it happened that I'm not feeling right, like I'm being hijacked. Just like all these other freakouts we've been seeing, from the airplane lady to the boxer to all these other demonic manifestations or other reactions in the air. There's been reports of YouTube creators who say their videos instantly get interfered with just for mentioning any of this stuff, or even showing pictures of a certain lady. Speaking of her, she has appeared on a new podcast lately, and this looks like the third version of the person. Is this even her? How many versions of there are her? This is all for entertainment, by the way, TikTok. Also, where's the boxer? Let's get into some fun deep sci-fi, deep-end thoughts here and just speculate. Could these people be being replaced? Where are they? Also, the irony of the airplane lady not being real might be the irony of the year. But a lot of people really don't think it's the same person. So back to these weird episodes and people getting sick and having diarrhea and seizures on flights lately, and mystery pain and diseases happening during flights. Somebody I know recently had a bowel tear on the flight. All of a sudden during the flight, they had a bowel tear, a perforation, for no reason at all. And there are actual reports of fake plane parts discovered being used by 4 major airlines. What is going on with the planes and the skies? Is the Denver airport one of those camps? And what is the mystery underground and overall with this airport? With chemtrail-ridden skies and things like HARP and other devices being used, weird seasons of Earth shifts, portals opening, and magnetic phenomenon or some sort of sun activity, there certainly are mysteries in the skies nowadays. What if there are certain times, places, or conditions where certain altitudes are just not safe? I think this theme was also covered on the Skinwalker Ranch with testing they've done. Speaking of airplanes, have you seen any of the interesting eclipse from airplane footage? Pretty interesting. So in conclusion, just with speculation, is this all just a PSYOP campaign? Is this the rollout or cover-up of something? Are themes like Manchurian candidates, brain hijacking, DEW frequency manipulation type weapons at work? Whatever the cause, something weird surely is happening, causing lots of reactions. What does that signal for Earth, the time we're in, and what's coming? Coming up, my Free Angel series, we're going to be looking up at the skies, the stars, what they really are, but not just that basic, making connections you've probably never heard before. Till next time, keep watching those skies. The legend of King Solomon's carpet. Could it actually have been real? Could it? From legends of rings, controlling demons, having worms that can burrow through stone called shamirs, to many other endless fascinating tales about King Solomon, one of the fascinating ones is the legend of the flying carpet, which you'll see repeated in many themes throughout Middle East culture and around the world. The Keter Nagast, meaning Book of the Kings, is a sacred book to the Ethiopians. This records the legend of Solomon's flying carpet, as do other records from Ethiopia, Tibet, and even in the Quran. He even supposedly gifted one of these to the Queen of Sheba. One of the fictional accounts based off Solomon's flying carpet you may know was Aladdin. The idea was that Solomon was flying around like Aladdin on his flying carpet, and it was said that he subdued and controlled the winds, which is called aerokinesis. I'd like for you to focus on this picture behind me of the flying carpet, and I noticed 2 very interesting things. You see the harp right here with the flying carpet? Think about a thread that could be lighter than air, some sort of silk from a special silkworm, or some sort of other special thread. Now picture her playing the harp and the resonance of the strings create frequency that can actually make and keep the carpet afloat. This idea of resonance and levitation is not new. And the idea of the term skilled musician when you read it in the Bible doesn't mean somebody that just sounds good. It means somebody with the knowledge to do something like this. Or like how David was said to heal King Saul when he played the harp. That's a skilled musician. There's a knowledge behind all this. A secret science that is lost and everyone says it's legend. Is it? There's a whole science behind this, involving also what looked like to be crystals in his hand. I've reported some on crystals and a lot more in the future to come, especially from the scientific community as they figure more out about these things. Also, what if some of the science behind the flying carpet included ultramagnetic clay, super refined into wool fibers, by the hottest fires you can imagine. Now take this whole principle of magnetism with the knowledge of the wind that Solomon had. The 4 winds, the jet streams, knowledge of the angelic presences, etc. Combine that with knowledge of Earth's magnetic fields and ley lines. Now think about the thought of magnetic wind, or the north wind coming from the magnetic Mount Meru mountain in legends. Imagine if you knew all the science behind this and you knew how to work it like Solomon, how fascinating of a character must this have been. Speaking of magnetic wind, this may be why there are some compass anomalies around pockets of large magnetic presences, and the compass spins around in circles, moves back and forth, just like the wind does. Magnetic wind. So this idea of Solomon being able to fly around is also tied into how some of the old world map and original cartography were done, which obviously were done from the air. What did Solomon know? So many fascinating things beyond the texts. Could this have existed? So many mysteries to explore. For now, I'm off on my flying carpet. War is often the time where you can find supernatural intervention. If you look into human history, you'll see all sorts of interesting patterns and themes of intervention supernaturally in times of war or great human distress. Quickly stopping at Vietnam, you'll notice several anomalies, such as the soldiers fighting rock apes, plus interdimensional Bigfoot, other type of cryptids, not to mention the whole trail of the red night vision goggles that would actually allow them to see into the spirit realm that had pilots freaking out. Now, before you start buying dye-seeing goggles and trying to see into the spirit realm, let's focus on just war in general, and that being a time where angels or other spirits intervene. Look at the records of Nuremberg in the 1500s, or the ancient accounts of the Vimana, these flying machines where the sky was just totally lit up with warfare in the heavens. Now think about the Bible talking about how God stopped the sun during a battle in the book of Joshua, and if you just go into this interesting research trail of all the times that there was intervention in times of war, it's kind of interesting. What it really comes down to in conclusion is nations were divided up amongst beings known as the Divine Council, and sometimes that's why wars are fought. And basically, countries are kind of like farms. There could actually be hidden lands out there that we don't know about. Lots of interesting things to keep you busy. What else don't you know? With UAPs, holograms, and direct energy weapons up above, there may still be yet one more reason to be looking up. Connect the ancient legends of the Phoenix, and how every time there's a world reset or a devastation cataclysmic event, the Great Phoenix seems to come up in legends of world history. Think about also the Great Fiery Dragon, or dragons in general, from Chinese cultures to the Hebrew Bible, or dragons in general, or these other beings like Quetzalcoatl in the South American culture. Now what about the Native American legends of the Thunderbirds? These great huge birds that would fly from up above, create a thunder noise, and a lot of times even snatch children or grown men away. Think about movies like Nope. The thought of a sky predator lurking above, sometimes in secret. All these legends must mean something, right? Well, funnily enough, maybe not such a monster, but there are pterodactyl/ropen sightings all over the world. The thought of a secret sky predator roaming the skies, or sometimes having to do with major world events appearing for certain reasons, is an interesting thought. So keep your head up when you come up from underground. Check out my last video. Do you know about the futuristic apocalyptic past? The 1800s were crazy. Biblical locust plagues with these dimensions that were just insane, plus the whole theory of Tartaria, which if you don't know, that's a whole nother video to come. Antiquitech, spinning Mercury, magnetic arches, star forts, bells to clear the atmosphere. How about volcanoes erupting, relocations of people, orphan trains, total mysteries of cities being found, airships where we were actually an aerial population. The total futuristic 1800s, the future was in the past. Coming up, we're going to do a video on Tartaria, exploring the theory of everything and the theory, did the millennial reign already happen, and can you recognize the patterns of the old world resets happening again now? The Bible says in the last days there will be plenty of signs in the skies, in the heavens. In fact, all the stars, sun, moon, and everything we see in the sky was made for us to distinguish and discern between seasons of the Lord. If you want to dive into future mysteries, whether you want to take my conspiracy space tour, check out my 2-part orb mystery series, looking forward to my angel series, or you still haven't decided yet what you think about the firmament and the model of the earth, got you covered on my page. Until then, keep digging in hard and remember to look up where your help comes from. See you next time on The Savage Truth.